Hey, this is Rob Anspach, and welcome back to another edition of eHeroes. This is episode 189 for those who are counting. And my next guest we haven't seen since episode 96. I know, a couple years ago. But we're going to talk about the transition from being a zero to a hero. And I think you're going to get a lot out of this because, you know, we've all experienced this whole transition, this whole pivot stage from the pandemic. And what we were and what we can be is totally two different things. So, Ashley Armstrong, thank you for being here. And I'm just astounded that you said yes again.
Well, of course. I love you. I think you're amazing. And
No,
all the
I'm not.
information and people that you bring. Yeah, you are. You're the funny guy. Everyone loves it. But you bring some really amazing people into your show, which brings lots of different perspective. And, it's a wealth of information for those who, sign in, tap on, and listen. So, yeah, I'm just super grateful for being here. So, thanks for inviting me back.
Well, 2 years ago, when I interviewed you, we talked about your superpower, which was the hidden rules expert, and you talked all about Amazon and all the great things Amazon had to offer.
Yeah.
Then the pandemic happened. So what happened in your business?
Oh my gosh. I think it's pretty much similar to most other people's businesses. We're like, what the hell am I going to do now? Things are changing. People are no longer spending money. People are losing their jobs. And so it was a really interesting 2 years. I pivoted quite a few times at the beginning or in the middle, I guess you can say it's for like the pandemic. I spent a lot of time working with my producer and doing a lot of TV segments on a Emmy award winning national TV show in the US. And I was really focused around helping brick and mortar businesses pivot and get themselves onto Amazon. Like that was kind of my space,
Hmm.
manufacturing, building products, selling them online, and leveraging the power of Amazon to do so. So that was really exciting and a lot of fun because a lot of individuals who had brick and mortar, they understood the whole concept of online. They understood that the world has been changing, and a lot of them were just kind of like knew they needed to do it, but it wasn't sore enough that they had
Hmm.
to do something about it now. They kind of waited until there was a problem rather than, taking action before there was an actual problem. So those TV segments is really geared towards, just helping them realize that, dude, you have a whole warehouse that you're already paying for of stuff and no one's coming to your store. So how can we help you maintain one, paying the rent for wherever your
Hmm.
brick and mortar location is, and two, get that cash flow back in, keep the employees, just keep the doors open for the most part. So that was really interesting, exciting, fun. But at the same time, what we're also noticing is for any beginners, any new entrepreneurs or accidental entrepreneurs, as I like to call them sometimes, who were like, okay, I no longer have a job, or I did have a job and I thought I had job security. And this whole pandemic proved that I could easily be replaced, or that my job security that I thought I had is actually not there. And so they wanted to figure out what that side hustle is. What can they do from home? And so, of course, Amazon e-commerce was like really brought to the forefront yet again, and
Hmm.
like boom, like big flashing lights for a lot of people. However, like anything that like any business, any industry, when you kind of get in on the early ground and early adopter, there's not too many people out there. There's not too many people who are your competition or who are super savvy as to like strategies and tricks and the ways of getting things done. And like a decade later, because I started a decade ago, and within the last couple years, just so many people got into it. The competition went through the freaking roof.
Hmm.
Of course, manufacturing the plants, depending on where you are, whether it's over like in India or over in China or whatever it might be, those plants ended up having to shut down as well. So you couldn't get your bloody inventory if you wanted to. And if you were lucky enough to get it on a boat or a plane to get it over to be imported, say you're in the United States, boats are just sitting out in the freaking harbor. Like nothing was coming in. It was just, you're like, I can see my boat is like right there. Like, oh my God, give me my bloody inventory. And they couldn't get their damn inventory. And then on top of that, like the prices for importing things just went through the roof. And it's like, where the hell do I put this cost? Like, do I put it onto the buyer at the very end? You know what I mean? And it would just ended up being, a point where it's still a really amazing opportunity to get into. However, you really have to be uber prepared before
Hmm.
you kind of get into that space, just because there's just so many people who are going into it. It's not as easy as it once was. And there's a lot of like little parts and pieces that you really need in order to be able to compete against everyone else who's either already there or already starting up. So it's yeah, it's a whole nother bag of worms.
You know, and
Can of
when you're
worms, whatever you want to call it.
and when you're buying your supplies, your inventory from places like India or Pakistan, wherever,
Yes.
now you're competing with them as well because they're selling the same stuff you are online, and you're like, wait a minute, they're giving free shipping, their prices are cheaper. What am I supposed to? And then now you can't compete.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Mm.
really interesting. But the side note to that, or the caveat to that is that it really forced a lot of local manufacturing to like pick up again. So there's a lot of places and there's a lot of products and items that really started to flourish within like the United States or
Mhm,
even within Mexico. You know, Mexico's always been really big, but it's super old school. So
mhm.
it's kind of harder to kind of get into working with manufacturers in Mexico. I lived there for 14 years. So I could totally go down that story, but we won't do that right now. But that was the great thing is that okay, so you can't get it elsewhere, so how can we make it where we are right now and how can we leverage what we have right now? And even so, you know, there's a lot of manufacturers in the US, they're getting a lot of their parts and pieces from overseas as well. So it kind of had a kinks in the chain in a lot of different aspects, but if you were blessed enough to find something that was 100% created, made, manufactured in the US, you're still doing pretty damn good. Yeah.
Well, you're up in Canada in Vancouver,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
I'm in Pennsylvania, closer to New York, and I've noticed that a lot of the stuff that I would buy on a regular day basis has gone up 40, 50, 60%. In fact, I was just at Costco the other day, and we always get these big bundles of toilet paper.
Yep.
Last year the price for these toilet paper was like 17 something. Now it's 26. And I'm like, what? I said, we need to stop eating and we won't need this stuff. But it doesn't work that way. So
Yeah, it's everywhere you look, everything has gone up, you know. You can look at the governments and inflations and this and that, but really it's more about how are you managing your life day to day, and that's really where you're seeing like the inflation aspect. It's not just one aspect, it's like everywhere. And so it's like, you know, pick and choose, be, you know, wise on what you need or don't need, depending on obviously where you are at financially or whatever that might be, or even what's available to you.
right.
You know, like what once was there sometimes is not there because they weren't able to fulfill and get the rest of their inventory so you can keep buying from them. So yeah, it's a trickling effect, that's for sure.
So what was your first pivot during the pandemic?
Oh man. Well, the first pivot was I went from more so consulting large, you know, multi-million dollar companies and helping them with their products and getting it onto, you know, to Amazon and more into the e-commerce space and properly positioning their product listings so that they would sell. That was the biggest thing that I spent so many years doing because a lot of people put things online forgetting that humans need to buy the things that they put online, and so they learn the strategies of, you know, like SEO, like you want the
Mhm,
robots to find whatever it is that you're doing, but they're not providing enough information for
right.
someone who can't tangibly touch the item to make the decision to buy it. And with like, you know, 7 seconds to, you know, capture someone's attention and convert them into a potential prospect of buying from you. And that was, you know, the biggest sort of thing right there, which really led into, of course, when the pandemic kind of started, because again, I was working with, you know, the TV show, and we are like, okay, you have all these things online or in your store, let's get them up online. So all of that kind of transition, but that was the first transition, big corporations into helping brick and mortar and really focusing heavily on women in e-commerce as well and supporting that community. I'm a huge supporter, of course, women in business, period. I have for well over 20 years in lots of different capacities. So that was like transition one, transition two. And then the next transition, which is totally freaking wild and never in I just never thought I'd ever even kind of go there. One of my business partners who I've worked on many projects and software tools and training programs for the last 7 years kept banging on my door going, hey, you know, we're working on this new thing. I've been in crypto for the last couple of years. That's why I've kind of been like MIA for the most part. And I really want to show you, you know, what I'm doing. I'm like, okay, show me. Yeah, okay, whatever. Sounds good. This is awesome. Yeah, totally makes sense. I get it. He's like, well, we think we might be, you know, building a course or something along those lines. Aren't really too sure yet. I'm like, okay, that's great. That's awesome. I'm super focused on this. I'm super focused being on TV and like pushing my brand, and I'm just like, my head is in, and I've given 110% to like my brand and this whole new pivot and everything that I was doing. And literally like, probably eight phone calls later, they're like, please come with us. And they provided an offer that I could not refuse. So I went from someone who's being in e-commerce into a space that I knew the basics of it, but I didn't really know a lot, and that's crypto. I was really kind of hesitant to kind of get into it because I'm like, I've spent the last decade in e-commerce and developing products and all this like, fun e-commerce stuff and marketing and whatever. I don't have the bandwidth to learn something new. I'm like, oh gosh, I just pivoted already. And here I am, someone trying to get me to help them, with, this whole new industry and this another course and whatnot. And so I finally gave in and said, okay, yeah, let's hit this thing hard. And sure enough, within uh 4 to 6 months, we blew the bloody doors off of everything in this space. And it still feels slightly like not real, but we literally broke records. We had the largest digital marketing launch ever,
Right.
and we did 57 million in course sales. And it's pretty freaking amazing because it's like literally earning your MBA on the ground. And
Yeah,
luckily
because
for me,
I remember when this first started, I said, "Hey, let's get you on the podcast," and you're like, "Yeah," and then your sales go through the roof, and you're like, "Well, screw you, Rob. I'd rather have 57 million than be on your show." And I was like, I
ah,
just can't believe that.
yeah, it's just been like, it's just the work has just been like consistent and constant. And like smart entrepreneurs, in my personal opinion, they every time we want to accomplish something or do something, it's always in our best interest to try to find ourselves a mentor, someone who's been there, who's
Mhm,
done that, who can lead us, through the path of ignoring this, focus on this, because that's what you're going to need to be able to move yourself forward. And luckily, my business partner, who happens to be Dan Hollings, he is an expert in this. He's spent well over 3 years investing millions of dollars and figuring out a specific strategy within the crypto space that no one else was doing. It's like brand spanking new. No one else was doing it. It works freaking amazing. It creates cash flow, and it gets you out of, centralized banking and in this whole new world of what this potential world might move into, in this
mhm,
whole digital space or whatever. And luckily, again, because I had that mentor, my whole worries of like, oh my God, how am I supposed to learn something new and get into this? And you know what I mean? Like
yeah,
it just took all that pressure away because like anything else, it's just like, no, no, no. Ignore all the FUD, the fear, uncertainty, and doubt, all the
mhm,
crap that you're seeing out there that either forces you to buy or forces you to sell because it's a manipulation tactic is a
mhm,
lot of the like the news and stuff that you're seeing out there. And this is what we're focusing on. And this is the rules that we follow, like follow the damn rules and you won't really make a mistake. And you follow this roadmap and just take you where you need to go at a specific point in time. And it was just absolutely amazing. So we were just by completely raw of this is the idea, this is the strategy. How can we make it a little bit better? And then how can we, get the training more clear? So we did 3 beta launches and 17,000 members later, we've tweaked and tweaked and tweaked. And, now we have like, I mean, like Hollywood style production. We have producers on teams. We have back end people. I mean, like everything is like the best bloody training that you're ever going to see out there. But it
mhm,
it took us, a good, 8 months. Now we're coming up to almost a year now of like rehash, like you're supposed to
mhm,
test it out, get the feedback, make improvements, test it out, get feedback, make improvements. And it just doesn't stop because every time we have 4 phases, phase one, two, three, and four. Every time you kind of finish a phase, then you get to the next one, you have to start right back over again and then revamp, edit, change, add new platform changes, new things, strategies change based on the software
mhm,
tools or whatever that you're using. So it's never really a set and done thing. You hear a lot of people where it's like build an online course, you can sell it over and over and over again. You don't have to build it once. Well, that could very well work in some
mhm,
industries, but when you're using software tools or using and going into a space that's still an early adapter space, like the crypto space, things are literally changing by the minute and by the day. And so we have to stay on top of it.
right.
And it's like the bridge in Australia, where because it's in the ocean and they literally will paint the whole bridge. And as soon as they're done painting the bridge, they go right back again and they start painting the bridge again. They never finish painting this damn bridge because it corrodes. It always
Wow.
needs to be repainted. And so when we think about like, oh my God, that's the same thing with, our particular course. We have to keep going back and redo, rehash, and make it better. And it's been crazy. And then we just keep adding more team members and more departments and trying to expand. And it's been it's a massively huge operation that we have going right now, but it's mind-boggling because the experiences from the individual. We have people in 130 countries around the world, so it's not just
Mm.
US based or Canada
Wow.
based. It's 130 countries and lots of different rules and regulations of every country within the crypto space, so that's always adapting, evolving. But just the feedback and the stories from the individuals. We have 80-year-olds all the way
Mm.
down to like 18-year-olds
Yeah.
who are like following along, and it's empowering and it's inspiring. And just hearing like the journey that people are going through and what they're having to like unlock, and the light bulbs, and
Yeah.
people are just absolutely loving it. And
Yeah.
I'm very grateful that I had the opportunity to dive into
Before
something that makes.
the pandemic, I would always tell entrepreneurs, stick within the core business, what you understand, what you know, what you can teach.
Yeah.
And had you done that, you would have never gotten this far and never sold this kind of money, and with these courses, and but Dan kept coming to you. Dan, and it was Dan wanting you to be part of this. And
Yes.
and when someone comes to me multiple times and says, "Rob, I really want you to be part of this," I have to sit back and think now, after the pandemic, can I be a benefit, or it do I have enough bandwidth to even deal with this? Because you know, right now I'm crazy busy. I'm writing all these books. I'm doing all this stuff for my clients, and people still keep coming, and they're like, "Rob, help!" And I'm like, "No, go away." And here you didn't do
Yeah.
that. You finally said, "Look, all right, I wave the white flag. I give up. Let me just hear what you have to say and do it." And
Yeah.
it's
I think a lot of it attributes to, well, especially during the pandemic, I had a lot of soul searching, I think is probably the best way to explain it. A lot of people can kind of go through, life and epiphanies and whatnot. And being, like the pro athlete, I was born and raised to always like, do the outer body, look back on like what it is that you're doing, analyze, detect, correct. So I'm always like detecting and correcting everything I do. I'm always kind of trying to psychoanalyze, why did I do this and where am I going to go with that? Um, and pivoting my own brand and working really hard on trying to come up with like a package and an offer and the pricing and how I'm going to do it. And just trying to stay on top of all that stuff. I've started to realize, well, all these different things I've done over the last decade, and even before that, because there's lots of things I've done way before that, I started to kind of like really zone into like my zone of genius. Like every year or so, I start realizing this is my zone of genius. And then we mature, we learn something new, we have epiphanies. I'm like, maybe my zone of genius is like a little bit more over here, and it just kind of keeps moving. It's alive. It's something that's fluid. It's never just done. That's it for the rest of your life. And so for myself personally, as much as I was trying to push my own brand and being like the front, the face, the whole nine yards, now going through this experience and kind of looking back on it, I'm really, really, really aware that I'm a task oriented person and I work well in a group of other people. I don't work so well as myself. Like, yeah, I can get the job done. I've been doing it for a long time. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of things in business that I'm like, I don't want to freaking even go there. I don't want to think about that. I don't want to redo anything. Like having employees, I had like
yeah,
6 to 8 employees, and I'm like, I hate freaking managing people like this. I try to hire people that are self starters, individual, where you're the expert. You tell me what needs to happen. I don't want to be telling you what needs to be done, because that's why I'm hiring you. Like you're supposed to bring some perspective and like just take the damn ball and start running with it, kind of thing. And I just like, not really my favorite thing. But now in this, as being a founding partner, there's 7 of us who are founding partners. Then we have Rapid Crush with Jason Fladden and Will Matos, who are our publishing partners in our marketing arm, you know, and then there's like 50 some odd support people. And like, I mean, like, it's just more and more and more people who are involved in what we're doing. I really found that like I am so much better at just being part of a team, where I can kind of see what's happening. I kind of like my fingers in all the pots, kind of hear what's going on, like be in the know of what's happening. And like, I'm like, volunteer, I'll do that. Volunteer, I'll do it. I don't know how to freaking do that, but I'll freaking learn how to do it. Or I'll find the person who can do that. And we just, kind of cultivate that way. And so, as much as I would like to say I'm an entrepreneur and a business owner, because I have been and I did, and I've been there and
Hmm.
I've done that, but I really flourish being part of a team where I don't have to think about everything and I don't
Yeah.
have to do everything and I don't have to manage everything, but I can be in the know of everything and I can volunteer for whatever it is that I want to do or that I'm good at. Um, and Because of having that ability where I'm not having to be like the hat wearer of
Mm.
absolutely everything, it really allowed me to like release a lot of stress.
Yeah.
I mean, like, holy jamoly, the amount of stress that I didn't really realize I was harboring and I was holding on to slowly started to like release over like the last year working in partnership with the plan. And it's been really really wonderful. And in that process, I've spoken to a lot of people who are they worked corporate and now they're like building their own brand, and then they get offered this really amazing opportunity. They're going to be doing like 50 grand a month, and they're on this big contract, and they have like unlimited travel budget, and this is like super amazing, but they really want to grow their brand. And now before I'm like, if you really want to like do it, then by all means like take that leap of faith and believe in yourself and jump. However, with the realization that I've had right now, I'm also like devil's advocate. I'm like, well, look at the other side of this thing. We all want to be amazing ourselves. And, some of, not everyone, but some of us want to be in the front. They want to be the face. They want to be
Hmm.
the person that everyone knows. And they want that gratification of like, I'm, someone who's famous or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
I'm the influencer, whatever it is. And that's all great and dandy, but sometimes you can get a lot more done being part of a team. And when you
Hmm.
look at any of the biggest companies out there, the best, there's the front person, yes. And a lot of people know the company or the brand because of this front person. However, there's not a lot of light being shined on the people who are supporting them, the people in the background, the COOs and the marketing and the development managers and everyone who's actually making the thing function and operate and move forward. And so I'm just like, think about this for a second. Like, I love what you're doing. This is really, really amazing. However, sometimes it's not the worst thing in the world to go join another team
Right.
because it could actually expedite your growth and give you cash flow that you didn't have beforehand, that if you wanted to go back, you could way more learning experiences, way more partnership opportunities. You get to meet more people. And so like, it's just like, don't don't just pick one thing and try to like dig your heels in that you have to stand on your own 2 feet and you have to prove everyone that you can do it on your own. Because sometimes, and in a lot of cases, nothing is ever built with one person. It
No.
takes a team
No.
to make anything happen. And so don't totally like walk away from a potential opportunity that
Yeah.
you
And
can be part of a team.
I created a team of people that I can count on. And so when I need book covers done, I send them out. When I need, back end web development, it gets sent out. A lot of the stuff that I don't want to do or don't, you know, just rather have someone else do it. It's just easier. And at first I was like, you know, yeah, I can do all that, but I don't want to be tied to my desk for 12 hours a day. And and I know starting out sometimes you don't always have the money to be
Yeah.
able to sub the workout, but find a way, because if you can take that stress off you, that's so much. I mean, that is just priceless right there.
It is. And the interesting thing, I've worked with Dan for over 7 years now, Dan Hollings, and
How
he's
does
an
he put
older
up with you?
gentleman. It's really interesting the way that he's always done it this way, and it didn't really like epiphany, like whoo, light bulb, until like the project that we're working on right now, because we've done like tons of crap in the past. But the way that he operates is he just finds the people that he can rely on, that he can trust, that are go-getters, and that are just willing to do whatever needs to be done gets done. And
Right.
he gives up a portion of the equity
Mhm.
to those people to bring them in. And he just calls it like we're just a bunch of raggedy entrepreneurs who are just all action takers and go-getters. and no one technically has a title of what they're responsible for. It's if we're all involved and we're all going to be rewarded if we work together as a team, then he just brings those people in and we just go, okay, these are the things that need to get done. And he just leaves. He's like, I'll let you guys figure it out. Just I'll let you guys figure it out. And then that's like the straws, like, I'm gonna pull this straw, and that person's gonna pull that straw, and that person's gonna pull that straw, and we like run off and and we go do it. And it's a really interesting way because there's no real, you're not being hired as an HR person or as the marketing arm or as like the system operations person, or you know what I mean? It's just like we all have so many different types of skill sets and we all want it to be successful. And so therefore he just brings the people he can trust by a
Yeah.
handshake. That's how he works. He's old school. He's like, let's do this. Here's a handshake. Let's get the ball going. And
But
you
you know,
know, finding people like that is not easy, but
knowing
it
you,
works.
I can see you wanting to command everything. How was that? I mean,
Yes.
was that hard for you to kind of not do that?
Oh, yeah. I am definitely a pit bull in a china shop in a lot of cases. I run hard and I run fast. A lot of people usually don't keep up with me. So you are correct about a lot of that. And again, that was definitely part of this learning experience where I like to be in the know of everything, even though I'm not doing everything. And I like to have feedback and I like to bring my point of view to a lot of the stuff. And I volunteer for a lot of stuff that I kind of know how to do, but I don't really know that great. But then I throw myself into it, so therefore I'm learning a whole new skill. It's like the amount of bullets I've added to my holster right now is freaking crazy. I'm like, woo! I'm like, this is awesome. Um, but I've definitely had to learn to. Well, I'm also older now. Like I'm 40, and I freaking
Oh
love
yeah,
getting
it's
older.
old.
It's well, for me, I'm 40. It's older, and I love getting older.
53.
It's the things that you learn as you grow is freaking awesome. And part of that like maturity has been realizing where I got to like pull the pit bull back a little bit. And so working in this environment, I would take the reins a lot or I'd volunteer a lot, but then I'd also, bring other people in. And I've always been one to shine the spotlight on anyone else that I'm working with anyways.
Yeah,
It's always been my thing, like as a sports coach, it's our job to lift other people up, to make them the best versions of themselves. Not, it has nothing to do with me. It has to do with them. And if I can be your cheerleader, I'm your best goddamn cheerleader to have in your corner because you're going to fucking rock it. Excuse my French. Kind of
I
thing.
learned
So
a
in
French
this,
word.
yeah. So in this particular
Always
case,
sound like Canadian.
and I'm like, I'm so sorry, Mr. Swore. I hope that's okay. But that's just kind of how it is. And so, I really had to like slow down a little bit, let other people sort of volunteer or delegate a little and ask for help more. And we all just work together so beautifully. It's
Mhm.
just, I don't know, it's like a match made in heaven. We got everyone is just super awesome. Like there's no qualms, there's no egos, there's no nothing. It's just all like we all want to succeed. We all want to make sure our big member base are happy and healthy and hopefully wealthy as well.
Mhm.
And yeah, so the whole pit bull thing, I definitely like to try to take charge, but I've learned to like, pull back a little bit and let other people kind of like jump in there and do their thing. But, I'm always going to be the one who's like, got my fingers everywhere in the pots and watching what's happening and how can I help? How can I help? How can I help? And, I think it's more of a, I don't know if it's a female thing. And I know I should never say that, but I'm going to say it anyways. Or it's, the way that I grew up where always having to please be the best, always had to be number one on the podium.
Mhm.
Um, where I'm just, it's like, I always have to prove my worth. And I know that's a 6 inch between the ears kind of bull crap that I'm always going to be kind of figuring out and struggling with as I continue on with this life. But I think I am also such a pusher and try to get involved with everything is because I want to be a value add. And if I'm a value add in more areas than one, then you can't get rid of me. And then I get to like, of course, learn more skill sets, which is the best thing about life and pivoting and trying different things and partnering with different people. Just that wealth of information and experience is better than anything else you could ever, pay for or study or whatever that might be. But yeah, the biggest thing is definitely I just want to be valuable and I want to be someone who's viewed as helpful and who's loyal and who shows up and reliable, and so that's definitely a part of that drive as well. So we'll see what that's like next year, but I'm pretty sure it's going to stay the same.
Over the last few episodes, I've been sharing what I feel, has come out of the pandemic, and social media has always given people that know, like, and trust. But I've added a fourth element, which is feel safe. And
Yeah.
I think when people approach you, when people know you, when they see what you can do, it's not about what the value you give them. It's about how you make them feel safe. And when you created all these courses, it wasn't the fact that, oh my God, let's sell these crypto courses. Most people knew you. They knew Dan. They knew all about you. They felt safe buying this course. And that's why you racked up so much money in sales.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. And then it's years in the making to get
Yeah.
that trust as well. And you're absolutely right. Yeah, it's really interesting that you say that because it's like, yeah, that's totally true.
Because I
We
can I can
just
trust
yeah.
somebody to work with me, and I can have them do all kinds of work for me, but they don't necessarily make me feel safe.
Mm,
The people
yeah.
coming to you feel safe. They feel protected. They feel like you're going to take them by the hand and lead them through all the dangerous stuff, and they have no worries.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I really love that you say that. Thank you. And it's very, very true. And honestly, now I'm thinking about, because I manage like the member experience with our support. We have two levels of support. Um, and you're absolutely right. Like now I'm thinking back to like a lot of those big long messages where people are just like, thank you so very much. Like I had no idea. Now I feel safe. I can get into
Yeah.
this and I can take my time and it's not a rush. And oh wow, yeah. Very,
I
very cool.
mean,
Yeah.
because to most people, investing is scary. They feel like they,
Yeah.
they might lose all their income.
Yep.
Crypto is that new shiny object that makes people
It
go,
is.
"What the?" And they have no idea. So you making them feel safe is that way of knowing that their money is safe. Their investment is safe. What they're doing, for their longevity in that financial realm is safe, and I applaud
Yes.
that.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, and it's interesting. So the way that we teach it, you can use, it's everything that we teach is all based on a demo mode. So the strategies that we use, you're using paper money.
Mhm.
So you're practicing. Like how awesome would it be if you could get into Amazon and you could practice building an Amazon brand without spending or investing any of your money
Yeah.
to see if you like it, to see if you understand it, to see if it works before you really start actually putting some dollars behind it. And so that's one of the biggest, I think, caveats and takeaways is that being a fearful space for a lot of people who may not understand it, but they want to get into it and they want to open themselves up to the opportunities and the potential of what that space is going to be for our future, our kids' future, whatever. That they can get into it with paper money as they're learning until they feel comfortable. And Dan is 100% about safety. I mean, like he
Mhm.
has this big pie chart of like how you diversify your portfolio, how you never put all your eggs in one basket, how you go like tiny, small, little steps at a time, and it's always like only do what you can, you're literally comfortable losing for the most
Right.
part. And whatever people choose to do is their thing. But we always start off with paper money and we always start off with small incremental steps. And we really want to make sure people are doing what they can because they have extra that they can technically say goodbye to. Like it's like same things in the stock market. It's the same thing
Yeah.
in investing in anything. Everything is like has the potential of going up or going way down or non-existent, and
Right.
so that risk factor needs to be taken in there, but it gives people the opportunity to figure out where their risk tolerance is. And it's not just about crypto, it's like investing in anything, you know what I mean? Like you have the banks going, okay, well, we can put $1 million over here and we give you 10% dividends and da, 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 da. But I need to know where your risk tolerance is because you can either use like this one or this fund or this fund or this fund, and based on your risk tolerance they direct you
Right.
to where you're going to put your $1 million your
And,
your
and
$500,000 or your $500, whatever it is that you're starting out with. But yeah, so it's a nice little learning curve on that particular
and,
aspect
and
as
I
well.
don't know what's in the course, but I would hope that there's something in there that says, you know, don't listen to what people are posting on social media constantly because it's
Yeah,
just all FOMO. And I see so much of that. They're like, "Oh, we got to go all in on this coin," and 2 days
yeah,
later it tanks, and
Yeah, we don't do it that way. That's the difference about, the thing about crypto is that it's volatile and that's what everyone's afraid of. And then so, it goes up and it goes down so rapidly. And the majority, literally everyone except for us, is they're always looking for those moonshots, which is like needs to be Nostradamus somehow. I can figure it out. And it's like, oh my God, put a bunch in and hope you can catch it at the top and sell and get out. We don't do that. We set up automations that allow us to capture like over 100% within the range that it can bounce up and down. And it literally creates cash flow every time it wiggles, it goes up or it goes down. So the volatility is actually our best friend. That's how we create the cash flow. So you park an investment in here and that investment stays where it is. And then based on the automation, it just spits out, 25 cents, 17 cents. And it sounds like a small amount, but there's like hundreds of thousands of trades that happen over time. And so that's initial investment is always going to be there. And then you
Mhm.
create this cash flow that gets pulled out from it. And so you have this extra funds that you can either like, send it back in again. You can move it to another area to like earn interest in another place. Like there's a huge roadmap because we really take you into like the city of crypto land, I guess you could say. And it's really interesting where it's the safety parameters are in there. If anything did end up dropping, you would technically lose less than someone who's doing it the traditional, looking for a moonshot way.
Right.
So like there's a lot of these safety parameters that are put in there. And FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt is like the number one thing that we have to constantly remind everyone because a lot, as I said before, a lot of the news, it's it's designed in a way, as you say, FOMO, what is it's either to sell or to buy. And so you see a lot of these things that are being written up, whether they're true or false or whatever, but there's always like a reason behind what they're doing. And so we call like the big investors whales. And so what they can do is they can put out, this really nasty thing that's like, oh my God, this is like the worst thing in the world, blah, 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 blah. And it freaks people out. And then so it entices people to like sell whatever they have. And then it starts selling, selling, selling. The price goes down, the price goes down. And then these big ass whales, these people with big money, they come in and they buy the dip. Right? And they're just like, the psychological aspect, the FUD, kind of directed people to do that. So these people who know what's happening to kind of come in and, take advantage of that. Or it's the other way around where they try to get you to buy, 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 so that you can raise the price of what it is that we're doing. And so these things that we're seeing out there, whether they're true or false or whatever you want to look at it, a lot of the times it's just there's a reason behind the curtain as to what it is that you're reading, and you have to read between the lines or don't even read it at all. Because it just creates so much stress. Like we're all like, don't watch the damn news, don't read the thing at all because it's just going to give you heart palpitations and just stick to what we're focusing on and do your research and and just go slow and steady and at your own pace.
Well,
And a
you
lot of people
mentioned
love that.
you mentioned a word called wiggle, and
Wiggle.
you
Yes.
have wiggle coins.
Yeah, that's our waiting list, but it's theplanrocks.com if anyone wants to learn more about what we're doing.
Theplanrocks.com.
Theplanrocks.com. Yeah. And wiggle is a term that Dan coined, because again, we literally thrive off the volatility of the crypto market. So yeah, so it's pretty interesting to sort of see that space, but at the same time, a lot of what we're seeing in the crypto space is now slowly starting to come into like real life. Like it's now starting to become tangible. And like when it first got started, it was like, as Dan calls it, the greater fool theory, where, back in the day is like you buy something, you hope a greater fool comes around and buys it from you at a, so you can earn a profit. But there was like no tangibility to it. Like there's no real world use to it for the most part. Where nowadays there is real world use. Oh my God, that's tongue twister. Like there's like, if you look at a lot of these different types of coins and tokens, and yes, anyone can make them
Yeah.
and kind of get them into the market. But of course, we focus on the best of the best, and this is how you analyze it, and this is how you do your research. So of course, we take people through all of that. But at the end of the day, like some of the best ones that are up there, they're building like the infrastructure of like the whole crypto land. It's not only just music and sports and medicine. I mean, like it's just crazy. Like even video games, it's absolutely crazy. There's video games that they're supporting token that
Hmm.
they've created, and people who are in the video games. I don't know if anyone who has kids, like my kids are Roblox and all
Right.
these
And
things. I mean, like,
someone just
no,
posted that their 12-year-old is making money on Roblox, and I'm like, what?
yeah,
Here
it's It's
That's just
crazy that
crazy.
these
Yeah.
video games are based off of like their crypto is their coin. And so when people are buying or selling with inside the game, it's actually the value, of the coin. It's just like, it's like, what? It's absolutely crazy. And then
So
like now you look into NFTs and that's a whole
yeah.
nother ball game. And that's getting into the
Oh,
physical product space.
yeah. To
It's
me, it's
crazy.
and I'm sure that there's going to be you know to me NFTs are this biggest snake oil salesman out there, and you just saw the one where the guy paid millions of dollars for the first Twitter,
Yes.
and now it's worth like 200
And now no one
bucks.
wants it. Well,
Right.
anything's only worth what someone's willing to pay
And
for at the end of the
right.
day, no matter
And so
what industry
to
you're
me
in.
it's like, and I guess that's kind of how I felt when crypto came out. So,
Yeah.
when someone comes to me and explains to me and says, "Hey, we're going to create this awesome course, and you're going to feel safe for it, and now you're going to be this NFT hero," maybe I'll think about it. But right now, forget it. You know, I
Well,
think I
it's
can only
not for
tackle one
everybody.
thing at a time.
Yeah, it's not for everybody. I think at the end of the day, it's just to be curious about what's coming down the pipeline. Like,
Right.
back in, oh my God, I wish I had like my quotes because I did an article for Digest magazine. It was back when the internet was like big,
Hmm.
and it was one of the publishing I'm having like one of those brain farts right now, but the
Yeah.
publishing company is like, there's no way that anyone's going to be looking for information online. Like nothing online is ever going to take away from this printed news
Hmm.
press that we're always doing. This is like 1991 or something like that. And
Yeah.
within 7 years or whatever, they no longer are printing. They're 100% online.
Yeah.
It's just the changing of the times. And if anything, at the end of the day, it's just like the only thing that you can rely on in life is change. There's
Hmm.
literally nothing else that you can 100% rely on, but you can rely on that things are going to change. And so if you're curious about it, you don't have to like dive all in. You can, just start small and just be curious about it and kind of keep your toes in the water, whether you invest in it or not. But, especially with the pandemic and the fact that people realize that their jobs are not security proofed, that they need to have multiple streams of income.
Right.
And this is like a whole nother, aspect that is kind of going on. And, the whole trucker situation in Canada and freezing accounts and like all these different
Yeah.
things that are kind of happening that I'm not going to get into any of that. Everyone can have their opinion on it, but there's just things that are happening that are just like, wow, like where's the world kind of going?
Yeah.
And it's never going to be what it was. It's going to be whatever the future holds based on whatever we choose to put our time, energy, and money behind, because something can only operate if it has money behind it
You look
at
at
the end of the day.
you look at social media, and it's a platform for our voice.
Yeah.
Crypto and the whole blockchain is a platform for our money. So we have to
Yeah.
think of it as a whole different thing. And I think people just want a way to invest without government oversight.
Yes. The middleman, that definitely takes it's really interesting. It's like way back in the day, you can put your money in the bank and you'd have like big returns, huge
Mhm.
returns. Nowadays, you can put $1 million in the bank and you might only make $300 over a year, like 0.02% or 5%. Jason had literally like $1 million sitting in an account and he hadn't done anything with it. And then at the end of the year, he gets the report and he made like $360 or whatever. He's like, what the hell is
Yeah.
this?
The
But, in the
and
crypto
the
space,
ba-
you can earn like 12%,
yeah,
14%, 20%,
yeah,
so the middleman's been taken away like it was
yeah,
in the old days.
yeah. It's just, but here you are. You're helping entrepreneurs go from zero to hero, and that's what it's all about. And for anybody who's listening, who wants to learn more about Ashley and the courses and how to be a hero, go to her website. What website do they go to the
Yeah,
plan? Do
well,
they go
for
to the
me
line?
personally, yeah, for me personally, it's the hiddenrulesexpert.com. I still have my brand. I'm still doing my thing. It's being revamped as we speak, but the hiddenrulesexpert.com is me. However, if you're interested in learning more about the crypto course that we're talking about, it's theplanrocks.com. We actually are going to be opening up literally within the next couple weeks. So that's our next launch period. So it's good timing to, just jump on the webinar, take a listen, see if it's something that interests you, share it with your friends and family. It's not for everybody. Like anything else, investing in the stock market, it's not for everybody. Investing in real estate, maybe or maybe not, not for everybody. But you can at least have a taste of what's to come. and have a little bit more understanding just by joining, the webinar, which is also pretty cool because we kind of dive in like where it started and how it's looked at and whatnot. But yeah, it's pretty interesting. And for anyone out there who's listening, don't be afraid to definitely take chances. Definitely don't be afraid to do, joint venture partnerships. If you have something great and someone else has something great, tag team, join up. You can get a lot more done when you bring more people to the table that, you have, of course, something that is, that you collectively want to accomplish. And you don't always have to be doing everything on your own
Right.
at the
And
end of the
and
day.
and
That was my biggest thing is like, I don't have to be the front person, the face of
right.
everything, like I can, that ego part of me is like slowly starting to go away that I have to prove myself, my self-worth or my point is slowly starting to kind of go away. And now I'm like, man, I rock as a team member.
Yeah.
I'm a
And
partner in that. This is
and
great.
and learn when to say yes to new
And
opportunities
yeah, and when to say no.
and
That's
when
the
to
other
say
thing that I
no.
freaking love about getting older. And like what you're saying, like people are coming at you with all these different things, and you kind of get to a point, and I'm now understanding my dad, where he's just like, that's not for me right now. I don't really want
Forever.
to spend time and energy in doing that. It doesn't interest me,
Right.
and the pros and the cons. And yeah, so saying no is just as important as saying it. Yes.
There you go.
Yeah.
And so, thank you guys for listening, and we'll join you on the next episode. But catch up on Ashley's older episode, which was episode 96, and then just binge watch or binge listen to all the other ones. It's only
Yes.
it's
Rob
only
brings so many amazing people on. Like you're gonna love just literally binge watching it. It's like get in on there and
yeah.
just put it on play.
Listen on your podcast. Let's put it in your car. Go to YouTube. Watch the videos. But go buy our course. It's awesome. Adios.
Oh, you're so sweet. Bye everybody.